the bathroom at like 5 a.m. and he's like, the Chinese premier has small hands, and like everything just gets fucked up. I'm like, bro, 3 weeks I was in this Euro USD trade. Why did you have to open your fucking mouth? Dealing with all the ups and downs. So I'm actually going to put away that the S&P 500 kind of reminder thing. So we'll come back to it as a group and show you guys how that's going to apply to this example. But we're going to go create all-time highs. The question just is when. It might be today, might be tomorrow. We'll see. Okay, so Trump just spoke. He went to Saudi Arabia, signed some deals with the Saudis, investment deals mostly, and he just wrapped up. They put up the full speech, so let's go ahead and give this thing a look and a listen before they take this down. And all we're left with is like 5 minute recaps from BBC and like CNBC and shit. It says we're live, so let's trust
Thank
that.
you very much. It's an honor to be here. What a great place. What a great place, but more importantly, what great people. I want to thank His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, for that incredible introduction. He's an incredible man. Known him a long time now. There's nobody like him. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much, my friend.
No wonder stocks are doing it. He just said my friend.
It's a tremendous honor to return to this beautiful kingdom and be welcomed back with such extraordinary generosity and warmth. I've never forgotten the exceptional hospitality showed to us by King Solomon, who's just, we talk about a great man. That is a great man. That is a great man, a great family. Now, that visit took place exactly 8 years ago. The graciousness of the royal family and the Saudi people is really unsurpassed, no matter where you go. Let me also thank the countless ministers, government officials, business leaders, and distinguished guests for that warm welcome. Very warm, and I know so many of you like to call out all of your names, but we have a lot of problems. Would be here for a long time. We don't want that, so don't be upset. With this historic state visit, we celebrate more than 80 years of close partnership between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Ever since President Franklin Roosevelt met with King Solomon's father, King Abdul Aziz, aboard the USS Quincy in 1945, the U.S. Saudi relationship has been a bedrock of security and prosperity. Today, we reaffirmed this important bond and we take the next steps to make our relationship.
1945. I had no idea. That's how far back the relationship between the U.S. and the Saudis go. But I guess you learn something new every day. I think he just learned that too. He's reading off the prompter and he was like, hold on, that's like 1945?
Relationship closer, stronger, and more powerful than ever.
Let me give you guys a quick update here on markets since this is the PM session during New York. So our students know there's kind of like different parts of the New York session. There's the market open, there's the AM session, there's lunchtime, there's the PM session, there's the pre-market close. And right now we're in the PM session, that 2 to 5 p.m. range. And market's already moving very aggressively. So I doubt that we're going to get a pullback today with this aggressive buying pressure. But we're sitting right next to this daily sell zone. And so if there is if we do end up popping up to hit that higher time frame level, which is about 120, 130 points away, then we can potentially get a shorting opportunity today. This is higher time frame sells. I mean, we're going to get a rejection and then we're going to go and break all-time highs. I'm very confident that the stock market is now officially on track to break all-time highs and to go and make this, this new big aggressive run because of all the clarity that's been coming out with Trump's policies. But there's still going to be one big sell left. And then, we were talking with Christine mentioned this before. It's like, well, would it make sense to put in a swing trade position once the market gives us a discount and then ride that all the way to the new all-time highs? I said, if you're going to be buying stocks like 1-to-1, if you're going to be trading spot, which means there's no margin, there's no leverage, then it makes sense because it's a pretty good long-term trade. As soon as you add margin or leverage to it in your account, that's when it's going to become way riskier because there's going to be a lot of volatility. And then every like small amount of volatility can have a massive impact on your P&L if you're using margin. And so that's just kind of the whole thing is there's going to be some great trades. I'm still going to be trading these in and out because I don't want to have the duration risk of staying in the markets. But this is the playbook. It's like if you can't memorize this playbook, then the rest of the stuff that you're trying to do, it's just going to be that much harder. So you're welcome. That's the blueprint, and we'll be trading inside of that.
Before. It is more powerful than ever before. And by the way, it will remain that way. We don't go in and out like other people. It will remain that way. I've come this afternoon to talk about the bright future of the Middle East, but first, let me begin by sharing the abundance of good news from a place called America. In less than 4 months, our new administration has achieved more than most other.
Jonathan, you're 100% right. It's also from the class, duck, duck, goose. Like right before this stream, I was showing, and I'll even just pull this up while Trump is speaking here, but I was just showing like that we had a duck, duck, goose. We had the kind of the start of the trend. We had the retest of the trend. We had that beautiful 88.6 trade one, and then we had that model two come in. Okay, now we've broken above every area of structure along the way. So we've broken the head of the W, we've broken the left wing of the W, and now we're coming up 88.6 for the sells. It's going to be pretty straightforward sells. We're going to break back inside of this range, and then we're going to continue to break all-time highs. So far, this entire structure has been playing out with the heartbeat, and I really wish I hadn't closed this because it was just sitting right here, but I'll show you guys this in just a second.
Administrations accomplished in 4 years.
By the way, this is what I was doing. This is on, I guess it's on 4/20/2020. Same exact structure had happened on the S&P 500, and then we were just tracking um, every single like section of the anatomy. And what we saw was higher time frames. We had that phase one, we had the big pump to the upside, we had the big draw of liquidity under that support, and then we were just looking for the continuation to fill the rest of that area. Okay, and then that's exactly what we got. We got a continuation for the rest of that area. Now, this is why I'm saying we have one more sell position, because let's take a look at what actually happened here. Okay, so as we were going up to fill that area, we still had the 88.6 sells, and then a push all the way through the highs. Okay, and so I do think that there's going to be one more pullback, and then we have a continuation break through the highs. That's exactly what we're seeing on NASDAQ right now. We already had that draw of liquidity through the support. We've already started to fill this entire bearish impulse to the downside. 88.6 sells to the downside and then buy it up all the way. Make sense? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. We've kind of just looked at them side by side, and they seem to be following the same motion. Big, big, big sell off on the daily and weekly for like a correction or some kind of higher time frame retracement. And then something happens in the real economy, like Trump or like the negotiation of a trade deal, and then all of a sudden optimism comes back in full force, and then we break all-time highs. But along the way, we're not just going to watch this thing just keep running, and we don't get any retests. We're going to play inside the structure and make sure that we capitalize on all the liquidity. If the market is moving a lot, we want to make money. We can't just be sitting there waiting. So that's my plan, to make sure not to get left behind.
Years or even 8 years, we've actually done, for the most part, more. The day I took office, we inherited, thank you. Thank you. The day I took office, we inherited a colossal invasion on our southern border, an invasion like you'd never want to see here. Nobody should ever want to see it. But within weeks, we slashed illegal border crossings to an all-time low, down 99.999%. That's good, even for this great gentleman standing right in front of me. That's a good number. We had hundreds of thousands of people that came in at the same time last year. And last month, we had in this massive border.
Yo, whoever made this logo, and this is a side thing, the Saudi Arabia and the U.S. logo swirling in the thing, give them a raise. This thing looks good. Um, yeah, I mean, just to kind of give context in case you guys are not really like weren't really following the politics up until now, the U.S. and Saudi relationship had gotten so good that they were about to sign a historic deal for peace in the Middle East called the Abraham Accords. And the day of the signing, which was basically supposed to create a coalition between some of the largest economies in the Middle East, mainly Israel and Saudi Arabia, were going to sign some kind of peace treaty and kind of just end the whole adversarial relationship. The day of the signing of the Abraham Accords was October 7th. So Hamas kind of like planned that event to sabotage the signing of the Abraham Accords. This is something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, which is they want to talk about the security state, they want to talk about the Netanyahu government, they want to talk about relations between Israel, US, they want to talk about APEC, they want to talk about everything except for the fact that the day of the bombings, or the day of the attacks, excuse me, was the day that the Abraham Accords were going to be signed and peace in the Middle East was going to transpire and all this stuff. And so now we're kind of on this like picking up where we left off. I feel like as we get closer to whatever deal we're going to sign with Saudi, we're going to start to see more of what happened around October 7th to try to sabotage this sort of historic trade deal. So very important to recognize what the underlying dynamics of all of these like smaller attacks, the Houthis, everything else, not just to disrupt trade war, not just to sort of like stick it to Israel, but really there's a more strategic play by the higher ups of those terrorist organizations who are living in other countries that they want to make sure they sabotage this deal and keep their hegemony in the region.
3 people that got in. That's quite a difference. And we have no choice but to get a lot of the people that came in because they were not the best people. They were in many cases very bad people. We're getting them out. We're getting them out very fast. We're bringing them back to where they came from. We have no choice. After years of military recruiting shortfalls, enlistments in the U.S. Armed Forces are now the highest in 30 years because there is such an incredible spirit in the United States of America. We have tremendous spirit again. Just about a year ago, it was a big story, front page on every paper all over the world, that nobody wanted to enlist in our military, meaning we were way under enlisted. And just last week, it came out that we had the strongest enlistment. They say 30 years, but probably it's maybe ever. They don't go back that far. It's the best, and that includes police officers, firemen, everything else. Is a great spirit in the United States right now. A brand new poll from Rasmussen just showed that the number of Americans who believe the nation is on the right track, they have a right track, wrong track, is now the highest in over 20 years. And it's hasn't been.
But this is one thing that pisses me off about Trump is that he'll talk shit about all like the fraud media and then especially Rasmussen polls and Gallup. These are the largest polling companies in America. They all had Clinton winning. They all had Kamala Harris like close. They all had Biden winning in their polls prior to Trump winning. And so all of the polling platforms have completely discredited themselves all the way through. Rasmussen and Gallup being the two largest. And so like quoting Rasmussen is very odd and very like, bro, wake the fuck up. Like Trump dismantled all of the fake news media, called them out on their bullshit, and created this whole campaign against legacy media and for folks to kind of go more of on a truth finding journey. And that's why now there's the podcast revolution that's happening. And then he'll go and sit down with CNBC for a fucking interview. It's like, bro, why are you giving them oxygen? Why are you still giving them credence? Why did you just quote Rasmussen? We're so fucking close to getting rid of these people and actually having something better. And I don't know. I just don't like this stuff makes me feel like Trump is just not serious about the shit that he said he was. I don't understand it at all. But anyways.
And anything like this because for many years it was the wrong track. And I can tell you for the last 4 years, it was definitely the wrong track, but it's the highest it's been in many, many years. We renamed the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. That was very popular, other than perhaps with Mexico. And most importantly, for the people in this room, the days of economic misery under the last administration are rapidly giving way to the greatest economy in the history of the world. We are rocking. The United States is the hottest country, with the exception of your country, I have to say, right? I'm not going to take that on. No, Mohammed, I'm not going to take that on. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing if I made that full statement? But I will not do it. You're hotter. At least as long as I'm up here, you're hotter. But groceries, gasoline, energy, and all other prices are down with no inflation. We have no inflation in a few short weeks.
Bro, he was getting PTSD from court. It's your highness. He's a king. He's not a judge. He's calling him your honor, bro. They didn't put him in court so many times up and down the last 3 years. He's stuck with PTSD.
We've created 464,000 brand new jobs. Think of that. It's almost 500,000 jobs created just in a matter of weeks. We just reached a historic trade agreement with the United Kingdom, and over the weekend, we reached a breakthrough agreement with China.
Mandy, stick around for a little bit. As soon as Trump is done with the speech, I'm going to give you guys some updates on FX Summit 2025. Mandy, do you already have your ticket, or you're planning on getting your ticket as like the what you're really asking for?
Both outstanding deals. China's agreed. We have to get it down. We have to get the little details down. And Scott, you're going to work on that very hard. But China's agreed to open up to the United States for trade and everything else. But they have to do it. So we'll see what happens. But we had a very, very good meeting with both of those countries. We are cutting 10 old regulations for every new regulation. We're getting rid of all of the red tape that is so many, frankly, countries, as they get older, they develop a lot of red tape, and we're getting rid of it. We're getting rid of it at record levels. And I'm pleased to report that the United States Congress is on the verge of passing the largest tax cut and regulation cut in American history. We think we're in good shape to get that. And if we get that, that will be like a rocket ship for our country. In the first quarter of the year, the investment in America was up an astounding 22%. More than $10 trillion of new investments have been announced or are coming just since the election on November 5th. So think of that. In a very short period of time, we have over $10 trillion, and it could be much higher than that. Not everybody comes to the White House to have a news conference that they're going to be opening up in America, but they're all coming in at numbers that we've never seen before. If you take a look at other presidencies, they wouldn't do $1 trillion sometime in years. We did this in essentially 2 months because you have to say we got into office and they gave me about a month to clean up and fix up the Oval Office. And after that, we started working. And the money is pouring in, the jobs are pouring in, the companies are pouring into our country like we've never seen before. There's never been anything like it. And we let other people tariff us into losing a lot of money, a lot of jobs, and now we're tariffing them. And it's at a level that nobody's seen. It's a level that is making us a very much different country and a very different Republican Party. We won a tremendous victory in November. We won all 7 swing states, the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. The Electoral College, we won by 312 to 226. Remember, they said, well, we could get to 270. We got to 312. That's a big difference. And very importantly, we won counties throughout the United States, 2,660 to 451. That's why when you look at a map, they're all red. So the whole country is red. Red stands for Republican. From the moment on and from the moment we started, we've seen wealth that just poured and is pouring back into America. Apple is investing $500 billion. NVIDIA is investing, and I see my friend is here, Jensen. That's very good, wherever you may be. Thank you very much, because he's putting in $500 billion. TSMC is investing. Where is Jensen, by the way? Where is he? here. Where is he? I just saw Beth. Thank you very much, Jensen. I mean, Tim Cook isn't here, but you are.
You're welcome, Mr. Trump. Anytime.
What a job you've done. He said he's got 99% of the chip market. I don't know. That's not easy to beat, but what a job you've done. Thank you. We are proud to have you in our country. You know that. Thank you for the investment. TSMC is investing $200 billion, and with this trip, we're adding over $1 trillion more in terms of investment into our country and buying our products. And, you know, nobody makes military equipment like us. We have the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything, best submarines, by the way, most lethal weapon in the world. In addition to purchases of $142 billion of American-made military equipment by our great Saudi partners, the largest ever. This week, there are multi-billion-dollar commercial deals with Amazon, Oracle, AMD. They're all here. Uber, Qualcomm, Johnson & Johnson, and many, many more. So I want to congratulate.
You just call them Qualcomm? Like quail, like the fucking bird? All right, anyways. I highly doubt that Israel is happy about this partnership. Like, clearly, we've had a relationship with the Saudis for a long time, so this isn't like a new thing. But to the extent that we're now trading military equipment, we're giving them advanced military equipment in exchange for like large-scale, long-term partnership deals. I think that Israel wanted to be the number one partner of the U.S. in the Middle East, and it kind of just seems like they just don't have more to offer than Qatar just sending Trump a fucking a plane, $400 million plane to use as the new Air Force One. He said Trump just gave me a shout out. Did he? Did he say? Did he mention a name Jensen? I must have missed that.
Yeah, I donated 500 billion in microchips apparently. So shout out
Bro,
me.
hot damn, bro. Send me a fucking signal. What? All right, all jokes. Everyone, but I highly doubt that Israel is going to be happy about this and just really talking up about how they're our number one partner. Um, yeah, Jensen, that's enough for everybody in the squad, bro. Send out some ciggies, man.
Congratulate everybody. So many great business executives, many of you, most of you I know. And they're coming in, you know, about a month ago. They weren't that happy when they saw me. And now they're saying, sir, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Amazing what a rising market will do. Oh, it's going to get a lot higher. In fact, I told people 5 weeks ago, this is a great time to buy. I got criticized for that. Now they don't criticize me anymore. People should have listened. But it's going to go a lot higher. You see, we've never had anything like this happen. It's an explosion of investment and jobs, and great companies are coming in. Never seen anything like it. There's no better place to make a future or make a fortune, do anything, frankly, than what we have in the United States of America under a certain President, Donald J. Trump. I have the right attitude. I have the same attitude that the people in the front row, second row, third row have. As you get back, perhaps they start to wane a little bit in terms of their view, but they understand, and we're doing what a lot of smart people would do, and we're not necessarily being politically correct. You saw what we did yesterday with healthcare. We've cut our healthcare by 50 to 90%. You're going to see drugs and pharmaceuticals come down at numbers that nobody has ever seen. And drugs, pharmaceuticals, we think will be dropping. And it'll be a redistribution of costs with other nations, which really took advantage of a very nice group of people that ran our country. But not only is this a time of incredible excitement in the United States, it's also an exhilarating period right here in the Arabian Peninsula. Beautiful place, by the way. Beautiful place. Exactly. Thank you. Exactly 8 years ago this month, I stood in this very room and looked forward to a future in which the nations of this region would drive the forces of terrorism and extremism, drive them right out of existence, and take your place among the proudest, most prosperous, most successful nations anywhere in the world as leaders of a modern and rising Middle East. So exciting. So exciting. Mohammed, you sleep at night? How do you sleep? Ah, just thinking. What a job. He tosses and turns like some of us, tosses and turns all night. How do I make it even better all night? It's the ones that don't toss and turn. They're the ones that will never take you to the promised land, won't they? But you have done some job. True.
Trump understands flattery 101.
But critics doubted that it was possible what you've done. But over the past 8 years, Saudi Arabia has proved the critics totally wrong. The transformation that has occurred, even by these incredible business leaders. I mean, you had the biggest leaders in business anywhere in the world standing right before us. But the transformation that has occurred under the leadership of King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed has been truly extraordinary. Such a thing has, I don't think, ever happened before. I've never seen anything at that scale happen before. And I guess, maybe you could say the United States is doing pretty well too, but I don't think too many people have seen that happen before. Majestic skyscrapers, the towers that I see, the difference between now and 8 years ago. And 8 years ago was very impressive, but the towers that I see rising, some of the exhibits that I was shown by Mohammed, if what I've seen there is just an amazing, it's an amazing process, amazing genius of so many people, architecture, but I have a feeling I know where many of those ideas came from. Happens to be sitting right in this room right before me, but the towers and all of the different, I've seen a lot of different towers. I didn't think there's any version of a tower that I haven't seen in one form or another. Well, I just passed 4 exhibits. I have never seen anything like any of them. So it's going to be very exciting. And they sit among the ancient wonders of a growing and exciting city. It's really amazing. Riyadh is becoming not just a seat of government, but a major business, cultural, and high-tech capital of the entire world. The World Cup is here. Johnny, just stand up, John. Johnny, thank you, Johnny. Great job, Johnny. Great job. But the World Cup and the World Expo will soon be coming here, just like the World Cup is coming to the United States. It's going to be really exciting next year. The engines of Formula One racing now roar through the streets of Jeddah in a historic milestone. Other industries recently surpassed oil. Think of it. All of your other industries now have surpassed oil. I don't know if a lot of people will understand what that means. It's so big to make up a majority of the Saudi economy for the very first time ever. So think of that. Other industries are now bigger even than oil, which is always going to be a big monster. It's a big one, but that's a great tribute to you and economic development properly used. In other cities throughout the peninsula, places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Doha, Muscat, the transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spend trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop.
In case you missed that, those were bars. He said chaos. No, he said he said the Middle East will be defined by commerce, not chaos. It'll be, what did he say? That was a bar. We're gonna have to put that back.
And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No,
World Economic Forum dig right there.
the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spend trillions and trillions of dollars, defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism.
Commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism. Ugh. Give this man a Nobel Peace Prize.
The other cities.
All jokes.
Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly. And it's something only you could do. You achieved a modern miracle, the Arabian way. That's a good way. Today, the Gulf nations have shown this entire region a path towards safe and orderly societies with improving quality of life, flourishing economic growth, expanding personal freedoms, and increasing responsibilities on the world stage. After so many decades of conflict, finally it is within our grasp to reach the future that generations before us could only dream about, a land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement right here in the Middle East. So beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that's happening. I guess, the people that are here can't.
I just noticed that if you guys are listening on YouTube, you can't actually hear the claps from the audience. And so whenever you guys are like hearing him take a big pause and he's just standing around, there's massive audience applauses going on. I don't know why it's not translating on YouTube, but yeah, he's getting some positive reactions here. I think it's important, especially when you're listening to like him addressing a whole nation. It's important to be like, is he just pausing for no reason? Is that awkward silence, or is the whole crowd losing their fucking minds and clapping? They are clapping, and they seem to like what he's saying.
Really appreciate it because you see it happening, and it's when you come to a place that you haven't seen in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years that it's even more incredible. When I left office just over 4 years ago, that future seemed almost impossible, what you've done. Together, we had obliterated the killers of ISIS. We wiped them out, terminated its founder and leader, al-Baghdadi. We had healed the divide in the Gulf Cooperation Council. It's a very big deal. And united the nations of the region to stand against the enemies of all civilization. We'd imposed unprecedented sanctions on Iran and starved the regime of resources to fund terror. They were unable to fund anything because they had no money left. They had no money. But the new administration came in and let them have a lot of money, and you saw what happened. It was not money well spent. And with the historic Abraham Accords that we're so proud of, all the momentum was aimed at peace, and it aimed very successfully. It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time what you've been able to do, but we'll soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have joined. The Biden administration did nothing for 4 years. We would have had it filled out. But it will be a special day in the Middle East with the whole world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us. And you'll be greatly honoring me, and you'll be greatly honoring all of those people that have fought so hard for the Middle East. And I really think it's going to be something special, but you'll do it in your own time. And that's what I want, and that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. When I left office, the only thing still standing between this region and its unbelievable potential was a small group of rogue actors and violent thugs seeking constantly to drag the Middle East backward and into havoc, mayhem, and
Was that a dig at Netanyahu?
indeed into war. Unfortunately, instead of confronting these destructive forces, the last U.S. administration chose to enrich them and empower them and give them billions and billions of dollars. The Biden administration, the worst administration in the history of our country, by the way.
Wait, is he actually talking about Israel? Billions and billions of dollars. They don't want to move into the future. They're trying to drag everyone back into war and get wider regional conflicts. Who did we give billions to instead of, I mean, besides Israel? I mean, I guess we did give money to the Taliban. I guess we did fund Al Qaeda in a few places. Like we were funding Al Qaeda in Saudi Arabia to fight ISIS. We were funding Al Qaeda in Yemen to fight the Houthis. We were funding the Taliban in Afghanistan. So, I mean, maybe. We'll see.
Spurned our most trusted and longstanding Gulf partners, and I can say partners worldwide. One of our great, great partners, no matter who we look to, and we have great partners in the world, but we have none stronger and nobody like the gentleman that's right before me. He's your greatest representative, greatest representative. And if I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? Huh? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give.
Well, before we finish up the speech, let me actually just do a quick rundown on some of the economic data that released today. So we had core CPI, I mean, we had monthly CPI and the annual CPI numbers come out. And we saw here is that inflation seems to be down on the annual. So what they do is like to get the year-over-year CPI number, they just take an average of the monthly and kind of just project it forward. And so it seems like projecting it forward, the actual CPI number, the inflation, the rise in the prices of goods and services seems to have come down. Prices seem to have come down on a year-over-year basis. They seem to have to come down on the month-over-month basis. And core CPI, which eliminates, I believe, food and energy, is also down compared to the forecast. So overall, all the different price metrics that the government uses to gauge inflation seem to have gone down, which is positive for stock markets, positive for the greater economy. And so there's really no surprise here that we're just seeing a continuation of this bullish momentum. Now, I'm looking for these longer term sells as soon as we get to this higher time frame sell level. And so that's kind of like my main focus. Right now, we're looking at the 30-minute time frame. Kind of like the second half of New York session typically is a pullback of the original trend of the day. So we had a big pop here pre-New York, and then right at 10:30 or 9, this is the market open here. We had a very short retest and a continuation. And so I think for the second half of New York, kind of this PM session, we might just get a pullback down to the top of this range, and then we might just end up closing exactly where we opened. That's kind of my base expectation here. If not, then we just continue to the upside, and we'll have to take this short during London session tonight. I'm gonna have to pull an all-nighter here. So this next couple hours is going to determine a lot. Like, kind of, are we selling first? Are we going to take a smaller time frame scalp back up? And so it's going to be a few hours before we get that answer. I don't think there will be any trades during this session. So that's just kind of my perspective here. Let's get back, finish up this Trump speech. Then we also have a few more announcements on Trump trade deals. And then some very important things that Trump may have said about Israel that I think are very telling about the future of this Middle Eastern war prospect and our involvement. So basically, Trump told Israel that we don't need their permission to go and negotiate with Hamas because we just released that last hostage. And I know, like, this is the thing that pissed me off about the news. The news is saying, like, he was an American citizen and we just released the last American citizen. First off, he's a dual citizen and he's like a registered soldier of the IDF. He's fighting for their military. And so, like, yes, it's a U.S. citizen technically, whatever it might be. But then Israel got mad that they were not involved in those negotiations to release the hostage because they're kind of like, and we had to remind them like they're not in charge here, and we don't need to ask them for permission to go free our own citizens, quote unquote, which is a pretty big sea change, even for Trump, because Trump has been probably the most pro-Israel president we've had in a while. So I think it's very interesting. We'll get to that here in just a second. We're going to play another probably 10 minutes of the Saudi speech. The reason I like to do this on these streams is because if we don't watch these together and I kind of break down some key points and I provide some context and backstory about certain things he's saying, then we'll all just have the result of listening to 4 to 5 minute like recaps and out of context clips that the mainstream media is going to pull together. Even the third party contract or the third party podcaster sort of like alternative media crowd, they all have their own agendas too, whether they're pro conservative or not. And so they're going to focus on certain things that are maybe like flattering to the US versus not. I feel like listening to the whole thing is the only way to get a real perspective on what's happening in the world. And hopefully, with the context I'm providing, everybody here can be just as informed. You guys can go make your own fucking decisions, and it'll help with your trading as well. Gonna have more confidence in your bias instead of being swayed side by side by these mainstream media sources.
So much, you know, too
Drop a like on the stream if you guys learn a thing or two, and make sure to click the link in the description if you guys want to learn how to trade.
much. I like you too much. Great guy. They lifted sanctions on Iran in exchange for getting nothing and sent the regime tens of billions of dollars to fund terror and death all over the world. And they laughed at him. They laughed at our leader. And they're still laughing at our leader. They thought him a fool. And they made nothing but trouble ever since, including the funding of October 7th, one of the worst days ever in the history of the Middle East. Horrible day. Biden removed the Houthis from the list of foreign terrorist organizations, even while missiles and drones were being launched right here at your beautiful city of Riyadh and launched at ships if they happened to be sailing in the wrong location. The Biden administration's extreme weakness and gross incompetence derailed progress toward peace, destabilized the region, and put at risk everything we had worked so hard to build together. And when you think of the great achievements that you've made to do it in light of a pretty hostile administration, an administration that was not a believer, it makes your achievements even greater, makes them even greater. You know that. But in a few short months since taking office, we have achieved the swift return of American strength at home and abroad. Now working with the vast majority of people in this region who seek stability and calm, our task is to unify against the few agents of chaos and terror that are left and that are holding hostage the dreams of millions and millions of great people. The biggest and most destructive of these forces is the regime in Iran, which has caused unthinkable suffering in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond. There could be no sharper contrast with the path you have pursued on the Arabian disaster unfolding right across in the Gulf of Iran. Think of that. They wanted to name it that. I said, they're not going to let them do that. Do you mind if I stop that? They stopped it. We're not going to let that happen. While you have been constructing the world's tallest skyscrapers in Jeddah and Dubai, Tehran's 1979 landmarks are collapsing into rubble and dust. They had it going for a little while under a much different system, but those buildings are largely falling apart, falling down while you're building some of the world's biggest and most incredible infrastructure projects, buildings, all sorts of things you're building that nobody's ever even seen before. Iran's decades of neglect and mismanagement have left the country plagued by rolling blackouts lasting for hours a day. All the time you hear about it.
Well, I mean, let's be fair too. Like Saudi Arabia is very globally integrated now, and Iran's been sanctioned to hell. They're not included in the global payment system, right? They're not included in global commerce. They're sanctioned against our partners from doing commerce with them. I don't want to say a blockade, but there is like a very close watch on all of materials coming in, especially imported materials relating to nuclear and energy. And so, like, it's not really a fair comparison. It's like, yeah, well, you guys were like, we're doing great and everything was going well, and you guys were building the biggest skyscrapers. They were having rolling blackouts and like struggles with their infrastructure. Probably some, I might have something to do with the fact that like they're sanctioned to shit. And but then again, they kind of brought that on themselves. So, anyways, context is important.
While your skill has turned dry deserts into fertile farmland, Iran's leaders have managed to turn green farmland into dry deserts as their corrupt water mafia, it's called it the water mafia, causes droughts and empty riverbeds. They get rich, but they don't let the people have any of it. And then, of course, there's the key difference at the root of it all. While the Arab states have focused on becoming pillars of regional stability and world commerce, Iran's leaders have focused on stealing their people's wealth to fund terror and bloodshed abroad. Most tragic of all, they have dragged down an entire region with them. Countless lives were lost in the Iranian effort to maintain a crumbling regime in Syria. Look at what happened with Syria. In Lebanon, their Hezbollah proxies have pillaged.
Okay, well, we can come back to this. It seems like folks are kind of falling asleep on us here. All good. All right. So maybe we'll get this trade. It's 3 p.m. right now. We got another 2 hours till the market close. Are we gonna have enough momentum here to take us where we need to go? I mean, I can honestly just see price consolidating for the next 2 hours. I don't think there's going to be any trading opportunities here today. Would there have been any trading opportunities? Let's actually see if I go body to wick. Let's see if I go body to wick here if we actually hit. So here's the body, here's the wick. Yeah, no real opportunity here this morning. Just kind of like a higher low double bottom, and I think this is mostly kind of like pre-news. And then obviously this massive pump on the second half of the session is probably related to the news and probably related to all the positive, like Trump going out talking to Saudi Arabia, that partnership really showing a better path forward. It's a lot of optimism going on. Now, keep in mind that most market moves are already planned in advance. Like if the majority of the market has a consensus about buying and they all want to buy it, they'll use the news events to hide their moves. Like the whole point is you can't put in a big $500 billion order at the same time. And 500 is crazy. Let's say like $50 billion order. It'll move the markets. So instead, what you have to do is if you're trying to buy it at a certain price, if you enter too big too fast, it'll move the price and it won't let you put in the rest of your positions. Because then the market kind of picks up on that. Everyone starts buying it up. And now the price is way too high for you to make money as the trader who is responsible for doing that transaction. They gave him a task, $50 billion, what's it called? Convert it over to euros and send it over to JP Morgan branch in Germany. And so now he has to basically convert this, this is for the Forex example. He has to convert this currency from one rate to the next at a pretty good exchange rate so that he can make a fat commission and go home. And so he's not going to put it all at this like shitty price. What he might do is actually sell it just enough to like drop the price, have retail start selling, drop the price, and then you come in with this big order and buy it up at a discount. That's kind of what happened. So a lot of these moves are already played in advance, and that's kind of what we saw today. They were waiting for some kind of like, are there any red flags? Are there any emergencies? No? Okay, now we can start to like bid this thing up. Now, the higher this goes, retail is starting to bid price higher and higher and higher. And so these folks that may have bought stock down here, and we're talking about like the large scale capital managers or maybe a few institutions that are doing like a play right now, they may have bought it up. And if retail buys it to the very top of the range, now the folks who bought down here are in deep profits. They're going to have to sell out of their position and sell those stocks in order to make the money and close that position. And that's where we can see a massive sell off here at that higher time frame, 88.6. Put a one in the chat if that makes sense. Does the logic track? Are you guys following? Guys picking up what I'm dropping here? If I can catching my drift. Yes. Okay, cool. Big Bryce in the chats.
Is the hopes of
Buddy, we're making world peace today. All right, us Saudi Arabia best friends. Trump calling the president, Your Honor, crazy. Wild day. Big Walter's in here. Christine, Josh, good to see you guys. Jensen, of course. Jensen got a big shout out from the Prez. Ridiculous. I've been here every day. I've been here wilding out. I can't get one fucking shout out. Not even a fucking honorable mention. Jonathan, good to see you on here too. All right, let's we got some other news to cover real quick before we hop off. Tomorrow, we're probably gonna have a beautiful trading day, so I'll be here for surely. And if you guys haven't checked out our weekly outlook of all the different news events, things to watch out for, I did not have Saudi Arabia on the list, that's for damn sure. But big things coming up are, I guess Zelensky, Putin are meeting for the first time in God knows how long, and Trump pledged to walk out there or to fly out there himself, where normally was his envoy of. Steve Witkoff has been doing an absolutely incredible job, by the way. So I think he might just let Steve Witkoff kind of take full control of the negotiations. But if he shows up, it'll be very symbolic, and I think it'll help the deals go through tremendously. And so Trump's presence seemed to be like it's like that thing. He's a change agent. He walks in the room, everybody starts acting different. So let's do Trump, Putin, Zelensky, and then we'll look at the Israel comment in a little bit. He said, "You're not in charge here. We don't need to ask you for permission." Pretty big deal here. 17 hours. Trump hints he'll directly meet with Zelensky at Camp David.
and we'll be
Not Camp David.
seeing three primary countries. You know all about that: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. On Thursday's meeting with Russia and Ukraine is very important. I was very insistent that that meeting take place. I think good things can come out of that meeting. Stop the bloodshed of the horrible. It's a bloodbath. But that 5,000 more, it's really much more, trying to be conservative, more than 5,000 soldiers. Russian, they're not American soldiers. They're from Russia, they're from Ukraine, but they're people. They're human souls, and they're being killed at levels that we haven't seen since the Second World War. And it's every week. A lot of drone fighting. It's a whole new form of warfare, and it's violent and vicious. And don't underestimate Thursday in Turkey. President Erdogan is going to be a great host. And we are doing some work with him having to do with Syria, too, by the way. We're going to have to make a decision on the sanctions, which we may very well relieve. We may take them off of Syria because we want to give them a fresh start. But President Erdogan's asked me about that. Many people have asked me about that because the way we have them sanctioned, it doesn't really give them much of a start. So we want to see if we can help them out. So we'll make that determination. But I think you're going to have maybe a good meeting. You have the potential for a good meeting, that a meeting wasn't going to take place. I insisted that that meeting take place. And it is taking place. And I think you may have a good result out of the Thursday meeting in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. And I believe the two leaders were going to be there. I was thinking about flying over. I don't know where I'm going to be on Thursday. I've got so many meetings. But I was thinking about actually flying over there. There's a possibility of it, I guess, if I think things can happen.
Oof. So, I mean, he just said, there's a possibility I'll fly over if there's a chance that he thinks things could happen. If he doesn't believe that Zelensky is going to actually negotiate and he's just going to keep kind of being hardlined about the demands that he has, Trump knows that there's no shot of a deal getting signed. And it's just going to be a bad look for us because we showed up and the deal didn't get signed. And so this whole thing of Trump ending the war on day one, kind of gets attacked. So I think they're going to be gauging whether or not. Now, this little pop-up thing came up from whoever put up this video. I guess this is, who is this? The Hindustan Times. What the fuck are we watching, man? Why do we have to rely on the Hindustan Times to have like the SEO? Watch later. There was a pop-up that came up that said Zelensky ruins his chances of meeting with Putin on Thursday. I want to see what all that's about.
Make that determination. But I think you're going to have maybe a good meeting. You have the potential for a good meeting, that a meeting wasn't going to take and it is taking place. And I think you may have a good result Thursday meeting in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine.
There it
And
is.
I believe the two leaders were going to be there. I was thinking about flying over.
Well, this is 23 hours ago. Zelensky ruins his chances on direct talks in Turkey, but there's a question mark here. This is some salacious nonsense. Let me see. Let me just like skip through this, bro. There better be something substantive here. Putin offered to restart direct talks. Okay, we got that. We're like halfway through the video. They proposed a date. Yes, we know. This is proposals on the table. Could significantly bring peace closer. Ukraine has proposed this. Okay, the killing must stop. Here in Ukraine, we have absolutely no problem engaging. I will be in Turkey this Thursday, May 15th, and I expect Putin, and I hope that this time Putin won't be looking for excuses as to why he can't make it. Zelensky said meeting with Putin will happen only if Russia first agrees to a truce. Zelensky's been pushing for a 30-day ceasefire with Russia. Kremlin said it's open to dialogue, but it's useless to press it on us. It's unclear Zelensky ordered precondition for Putin. Okay, you guys just catfished me. I'm doing a bottom like to this fucking Hindustan Times. 8.1 million. My God. Okay, yeah, you're getting a thumbs down for catfishing me. All right, well, let's see how that goes. Thursday's the day to watch for the updates on Ukraine, Russia. I believe that Trump also made this comment today. Signs of a rift. Sky News Australia. I like Sky News Australia a little bit, but they're also not unbiased. They also have their own agenda. So here's what we'll do. Breaking Points is pretty like pro-liberal perspective, and Sky News Australia is very pro-right. And so let's kind of like let's listen to both, get both perspectives, and let's find something in the middle. Okay, that's probably the best chance that we have of getting like a real truth. All right, let's start with Sky
Donald
News
Trump
Australia.
has announced that an American-Israeli hostage held by Hamas since October 7, 2023.
And I want you guys to notice certain things. It's going to be a masterclass because I'm sitting here at the driver's seat. I'm going to do a masterclass in information propaganda. Okay, so notice like these very, very important features here. I haven't fully watched these, but I'll tell you right now, you'll find like slight differences from the jump. So they said U.S. Israeli hostage. They're not saying U.S. like the liberals have been saying U.S. citizen hostage. This is U.S. Israeli, so we're getting a bit of a different perspective here.
Home. Trump wrote, I'm happy to announce that Eden Alexander, an American citizen who has been held hostage since October 2023, is coming home to his family. I'm grateful to all those involved in making this monumental news happen. This was a step taken in good faith towards the United States and the efforts of the mediators, Qatar and Egypt, to put an end to this very brutal war and return all living hostages and remains to their loved ones. Josh, this development comes as reports of a growing rift between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu emerge. What can you tell me about what this means for the war between Hamas and Israel? Is there a truth that there is a rift between these two leaders?
So there's an enormous amount of rumors, and it is very, very difficult to know what exactly is certain and what is not certain. Now, apparently the asking price that Hamas essentially, again, this is just a rumor, it's not verified, but allegedly the asking price that Hamas asked President Trump in order to free the last American hostage there was to put pressure on Netanyahu to establish a definitive time frame to wind down the military operations in Gaza. The obvious problem is that Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israelis are not ready to put a definitive time frame on the operations in Gaza because Hamas is not close to being eradicated yet. Now they are deeply, deeply hurting compared to where they were on October 6, 2023.
All right, and let me gauge the perspective of the folks watching this stream. Put a 1 if you guys think there's a possibility to eradicate Hamas, whatever the fuck that means. Okay, whatever that means to you. And then put a 2 if you do not think it's possible to eradicate Hamas completely. And get some perspectives on both sides, but let me just see, because I know, like, I don't want to just keep like kind of being hardline about my own perspective on these things, but I feel like getting a good gauge about what you guys think. 1, if you think that it's possible to eradicate Hamas, whatever that means. And then 2, it's not possible to eradicate Hamas.
That should not be.
Like without maybe killing literally every last person in Palestine. And even still, an ideology doesn't go away because like 90% of the folks are dead. It's like if 1% lives, if 5% lives, the ideology can live on. So is it possible to completely eradicate them? You guys tell me.
Be surprised anyone there. But yes, I think it is fair to say that there likely are increasingly signs of a rift. Maybe there is not a rift at this exact moment, but there are a lot of tense situations. The latest rumors over the past 24, 36 hours are that Qatar, of all countries, might be gifting a Boeing 747 to be an Air Force One backup plane or something along those lines there. Qatar, shall we say, is a problematic country. They are somewhat infamous when it comes to doublespeak. They like to play the nice role of mediator when it comes to these negotiations, but they also are major funders of Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood there. The Trump organization recently inked a big deal to develop a new golf course there in Doha. So it's a little difficult to know exactly what is going on here. At the end of the day, though, the American people, and especially MAGA voters, Republicans, really do stand overwhelmingly with Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel. So if for no other reason than that reason, Rita, I expect that U.S.-Israel relations will continue to be quite close.
Now, a lot has happened in the recent days, Josh. We've got a lot to cover, including the US striking a trade deal with the UK. This is pretty big news, but it wasn't long before the usual suspects in the media were out to downplay the significance of the deal. Let's have a listen to MSNBC.
This is relatively low-hanging fruit. If you can't get a trade deal with the longest-standing and loyalist United States
supply chain between.
So I clicked on a video about Trump and Israel, and we're talking about the UK trade deal, which doesn't matter. And like, if it doesn't matter, then why are we covering it? Anti-ICE Democrats arrested over stunts. Who got arrested? The fuck? All right, don't care. Let's see if the libs can actually stay on topic.
Happy to be joined this morning by co-founder of Drop Site News, Jeremy Scahill. Great to see you, sir.
Drop Site News. Okay, just to kind of, if you guys want to gauge how serious this news outlet is, first off, they got the kid from Stuart Little all grown up. That's besides the point. But look at the subject topics over here. We got Gaza, and then we have habeas corpus, so the suspension of the rule of law. We have, or due process. We have drugs, so obviously this is going to be the drug prescription news that we talked about earlier on Sunday. There was the breaking news about Trump's reforms to the pharmaceutical kind of pricing framework between us and other countries. Then we have Kanye West. Is this a serious panel? Is this a serious list of topics to cover? Shit, they got me talking about it now. Now I feel like less of a man for even reading this out loud. Now we're covering Kanye. But let's just see what they got on Gaza. It's 18 minutes, so let's see if they can actually stay on track here. It looks like they stayed on track about the Israel topic for a while, but this is probably going to get pretty annoying with their perspectives. I'll give it 3 minutes. Skip around.
Thank you, Crystal. Hey, Emily.
Yeah, of course. So let's go ahead and put this first element up on the screen. There's a lot going on this week as President Trump heads to the Middle East. We got this announcement that I'll just read from President Trump's Truth Social here. I'm happy to announce that Eden Alexander, an American citizen who's been held hostage since October 2023, is coming home to his family. I'm grateful to all those involved in making this monumental news happen. This was a step taken in good faith towards the U.S. and the efforts of the mediators, Qatar and Egypt, to put an end to this very brutal war and return all living hostages and reins those their loved ones. Hopefully, this is the first of those final steps necessary to end this brutal conflict. Look very much forward to that day of celebration. So, Jeremy, just to start off with, can you break down some of the context in which this agreement and this ability to return Adan Alexander was obtained?
Well, I mean, one of the aspects of this that is truly extraordinary is that this is the first time that the United States has made a direct deal with Hamas that does not involve Israel. That's a major step away era policy. For instance, there were a number of people with U.S. citizenship who were taken captive on October 7th during Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, and the Biden administration stood by and refused to actually negotiate directly with Hamas
Because they bent over for Israel. Israel told them, you guys can't negotiate with Hamas without us present. And everyone was like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. This is their conflict, and we have to have them. If it's an American citizen, that's our business. Right? We don't imagine we fucking need permission to go and save one of our own citizens, especially from a country that we are funding and giving political cover for, to even do these activities in the first place. And so Trump was the first, like, this is the first time I've heard someone say this, which is like, look, we're friends, we're allies in this region. We're definitely not allies with Hamas. We're allies with you guys, right? Cool. Who the fuck do you think you are, telling us who we can and can't negotiate with? And this is going to create a big rift here, because this power dynamic has been evident since the very beginning. And now that it's out on full display and everyone's commenting on it, I think the majority of people are going to realize, like, America should be able to do what America needs to do to protect American interests around the world. And so, I mean, so far, this just kind of seems like the same thing as the headline
constantly
news.
deferred to the Israelis. So what we're seeing is a kind of unorthodox aspect of Donald Trump's presidency. He recently made a deal with what the U.S. considers to be a foreign terrorist organization and a non-state actors, Ansar Allah, the Houthis of Yemen. Now you have the U.S. Beginning in February engaged in direct talks with Hamas that is now leading to the release of a dual U.S. Israeli citizen. The other aspect of this, Crystal, that's really significant is that during this entire 19-month period, there has not been a single male Israeli soldier that has been released from captivity in Gaza. And it's important to remember, a lot of the coverage.
That's really important for, like, this sick in the head terrorist group that only wants death and war and just complete animals and they're raping the women and all this stuff. Seems like they had a code. It seems like women, children, and were let go, but fighting age men were not released as part of the hostage negotiations, and they're still using them as a bargaining chip. I mean, they got a code. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that means, but found that pretty interesting.
Of this implies that Adan Alexander was a civilian that was kidnapped. Well, Hamas considers him to be a prisoner of war because he was an active duty soldier in.
Yeah, so how was he a civilian if he was an active duty soldier?
The Israeli military on October 7th.
So he's an active Israeli soldier, and they're trying to claim, the mainstream media is trying to claim that he is a civilian. Guys, war is fucked up. Don't get me wrong, war is fucked up, and all of it is fucked. Anybody getting kidnapped is fucked. But combatants are different than civilians. Civilians are not involved. Leave them out of everything. Combatants, military combatants, I don't want to say it's fair game, but that's a different negotiation that we got to have.
It's captured by Palestinian fighters in uniform while serving in a military that the Palestinians view as an occupying force that is operating on behalf of an apartheid entity. So, there are details of Trump. They know that Trump's administration is filled with Zionists. They know that Trump's administration with Steve Witkoff and Adam Bowler.
Yo, you better not say shit about Steve Witkoff, buddy. You better tread carefully.
Than they did with Antony Blinken or Bill Burns when Biden was president.
Well, let's.
Okay, give him some big ups. All right, well, I'm not gonna roast people today. It's not fun. These guys can't defend themselves. This guy's dressed like he's a waiter at the Red Lobster. You know what I'm saying? There's just no reason to go at this guy right now. That would just be uncalled for. He looks like a maitre d' at the Outback Steakhouse. But you know what I'm saying? Given the political takes. All right, folks. this is what we got today. Markets moved pretty early. If there's no retest in the mornings and there's no chance for you to take trades, if there's high impact news events, stop like trying to play God. I know a lot of you guys are like, well, I know there's a lot of high risk news events, but somehow that shouldn't matter on the charts. And then now there's stuff happening, and now you're like frustrated because why didn't this work and why didn't that work? Huh? I wonder why. I fucking sitting there just racking my brain. I wonder why the markets are acting weird today, right? So keep your perspective on the macro, keep your perspective on all the different changes and the volatility happening, and then just don't beat yourself up for like Trump literally reshaping the whole fucking chessboard. Guys, the hegemonic world order, this what are they called? The rules-based global world order that happened after World War II that made America the global dominant superpower and sort of created the framework with the UN, with NATO, and the IMF. That global world order, that rules-based world order, everything is getting shaken up. Over the past 30 years, there's been a lot of these partnerships and let's say allies that have been made that aren't productive for those countries. It's like a one-sided deal. Trump came in, rewired all the trade deals because we're getting ripped off. Got a lot of the security deals done with NATO because they weren't paying their fair share to protect themselves. Why are we protecting you and you guys ripping us off, talking shit about us, whatever? And so if there's all these changes happening, and today there's Saudi Arabia, there's Israel, and then there's like we are avoiding World War III with Pakistan and India, and we're avoiding World War III with Ukraine and Russia. Expect the markets to maybe move a little different than you might have thought. Like, Roy, I can't believe CPI had that big of an impact on the markets. You don't think it was Trump announcing Jensen putting $500 billion into the economy? You don't think that's what it was? So, anyways, there's a lot happening. Make sure that you guys are just keeping risk management as a priority. If there's no retest, if there's no quality trades, don't feel forced or don't feel pressured to like need to be in the charts. And you can show up every day, but you don't have to trade every day. All right, so those are your trading reminders. Hit a like on the stream if you guys got something away from this. If you did not take anything away from this stream, go get your head examined, okay? Because clearly I gave out some sauce, and so you either were paying attention or you weren't. So, anyways, click the links in the descriptions. Sign up for this week's webinars tomorrow. Free webinars every Wednesday teaching you guys how to trade, kind of the basics of getting into NASDAQ and how to make money trading just like we do. And so if you guys want to show up for that, then congratulations. You probably have your head on straight because you want to take your trading to the next level and make some money. All right. See you guys on there. See you guys tomorrow morning live for another market stream. Happy and safe trading, everybody. Take it easy. Peace. Oh, didn't cover the summit.